In Istanbul, some journeys begin long before you reach your destination. Today, we'll travel through the city, cross the waters, and leave the familiar Istanbul behind. Because beneath these crowded streets, another world has been waiting in silence for centuries. Our journey begins here. Beneath the busy streets of Istanbul lies a world built more than 15 centuries ago. The Basilica Cistern was constructed during the reign of Byzantine Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century to store and supply water for the imperial city. Hundreds of ancient columns rise from darkness, surrounded by water and silence. But somewhere deep inside this underground world, an old friend is waiting for us. As we cross the waters of Istanbul, we're on our way to visit an old friend, a woman whose beauty was once said to rival the gods themselves, and whose fate became one of the most tragic stories of the ancient world. She has been waiting beneath Istanbul for centuries. Today, we're going to find her. 336 columns inside the Basilica Cistern, most of them rising nearly 9 meters high. As you walk between them, it feels less like a reservoir and more like a palace hidden beneath the city. For more than 15 centuries, these columns have stood here in darkness and silence. But 2 of them are different. At their base, something ancient is waiting for us. And that's where we're going next. And finally, we stand face to face with Medusa. For centuries, her face has rested here beneath the streets of Istanbul, far from the sunlight. But before she became the monster remembered by history, Medusa was said to be a beautiful young woman. According to one version of the myth, after an encounter with Poseidon in Athena's temple, she was transformed. Her hair became serpents, and her gaze gained the power to turn anyone who looked at her into stone. Eventually, Perseus defeated Medusa by looking at her reflection in his shield rather than directly into her eyes. And centuries later, 2 enormous stone heads bearing her face found their way here. One lies on its side, the other stands upside down. No one knows for certain why. Perhaps they were simply reused as architectural supports, or perhaps turning Medusa away was meant to break the power of her gaze. Whatever the truth, our old friend is still here, waiting beneath Istanbul. It's time to leave our old friend behind. Medusa will remain here beneath Istanbul, surrounded by water, stone, and centuries of silence. Perhaps some stories never truly end. They simply wait for someone to visit them again. Until our next journey,